out. Bleacher Report NBA insider, courtside reporter. He was there at the Garden and got a chance to witness it all, listen to it all. Give me what the environment was like with a minute to go in the Garden, Chris.
Thanks for having me on, DP. It was an incredible experience. That was my first Knicks playoff game working as a sideline reporter. So I was very interested in seeing how that turnout was going to shape out. But it was incredible. But that last minute, my seat, I have a seat directly behind the Sixers bench. And a minute left into that game, you're just seeing the Sixers. They're pounding their chests. They're excited. They believe they got this game. They believe they're about to finish this game. And it was the fans. They were down and somber. It looked like we were going back to Philadelphia 1-1. And then it happened. And when I say it happened, a lot happened. I mean, it just turned that place upside down. I know the controversial non-call holding of Tyrese Maxey, and the Sixers have asked the league to review that. They filed a complaint on that. I don't think anything is going to come of that. But with that being said, take that away. The Knicks crashed the boards off his rebounds, dove on the floor to get the ball. They wanted it. They really wanted it. And that's the thing. When I look at this matchup, I believe talent-wise, I believe Philadelphia has the better team talent-wise. But the Knicks, they got some dogs. They got some dogs over there. Josh Hart, Hartenstein, Dante, I don't want to mess up his name.
DiVincenzo.
DiVincenzo. I always have a hard time saying that. I'll just stay with Dante. They got some dogs over there. And so I think ultimately that's what's putting them in favor and putting them ahead as of right now.
Who should be favored now?
You gotta stay the Knicks. I mean, they took care of home court advantage. This is if I'm a Sixers fan, my concern going into game 3 is that they might not be over game 2. Just the way that it ended. And the complaints that they have, valid complaints. You can obviously see Jalen Brunson kind of pulled that Tyrese Maxey's jersey. Valid complaints, but there's a time when you have to kind of move on, and you can't let that settle in. And I'm not saying that's the case, but you can see a scenario play out in which game 2 might have been the game that broke the series down. I don't know. Philly still has, they got home court now for the next 2 games, I should say. But that was a brutal loss for sure.
Why didn't Philly take a timeout?
Well, Nick Nurse was actually calling the timeout. The ref looked like he didn't see him or he ignored him. So you could see on the sideline Nick Nurse trying to get the ref's attention. But also Kyle Lowry, who's inbounding that ball, they would have seen him if he would have called a timeout. So I think it was a situation where the ref they were looking at the players, and that environment was loud. Like DP, it was one of the better playoff environments I've been in a long time. So it was loud. So I guess I can see that the ref probably didn't hear Nick Nurse on the sideline trying to call a timeout, but they would have saw the players. If Kyle Lowry would have signaled for a timeout, I think they would have got it.
Yeah, but I'm looking at it right now. It's like Nick Nurse wants to call a timeout. He hesitates a little bit there. And then the ball is loose, so you can't call that timeout if the ball is loose. Yeah. So I think he missed the opportunity to call the timeout.
Yeah, I mean, and also like Kyle Lowry, him being a veteran, being a champion, like I believe he knows they still have a timeout left. Like he has to feel it. He has a ticking clock in his head. He understands, it's about to be close to being a 5-second call. Like he has to know and understand the time as well. So I don't know what happened right there. Maybe the players didn't know they had a timeout. I don't know, but that was an unfortunate situation.
He's Chris Haynes, NBA on TNT courtside reporter. Next up, he'll have the Heat in the Celtics series for the next 3 games. Also, check out his basketball podcast with Mark Stein, Hashtag this league uncut. We had Chris Mannix on last hour, and we were talking about Joker. You get 3 MVPs in 4 years, you get a title, and at what point does he start to get into the conversation of all-time greats? Not a top 10, certainly not yet, but is Joker in that top 20 player category all-time, let's say top 20, in your opinion?
Top 20. Look, I will say this, and I'm gonna answer your question. I'm not gonna dip from it.
Okay.
But DP, I heard Mannix say that he's already better than Karl Malone.
Yeah.
Right. Would you say Karl Malone is top 10, top 15?
He's not top 10, maybe top 15, maybe top 15.
Okay. So I think talent-wise, Joker is a top 10, maybe even top 8, 7. I don't, maybe talent-wise. But as far as we're talking career, that's where like I'm a little bit hesitant on the Malone, because I know the championships and the MVP, I get that. But just the longevity, it's still something to be said about, having longevity in this league. But with that being said, top 20, yeah, I would put him in the top 20 right now. Top 10, I want to see more. I want to see more because, it's like I used to make this, when Bo Jackson was playing. Probably, people at the time were saying he was arguably the best running back ever, just in that time frame, in that window that he had. And you can still make the case, like, pound for pound, arguably being the best or one of the best running backs, period, but he didn't have that longevity. So with Joker, that's, I want to see more time and window. But talent-wise, we're talking just talent. Talent-wise, he's among the greats.
Is it a good thing that the best players in the game are from other countries?
I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, this is what David Stern wanted. He wanted the NBA to branch out and to become a global game, and it has. The world has caught up, and I think it's good to have different styles of basketball and different people of different countries and races, ethnicity representing this game. So I don't see it as a bad thing at all. And I think if you're an American, if you're complaining about it, well, just put your work in and get out there and try to take them down.
But I would love to see the U.S. versus the world at the All-Star game. I do think that might have a little more country pride, and then maybe there's a little bit more to it. I mean, we're at the point now where there's not many other options to dress this up and make it seem like it's an actual game. Okay,
let me say this, DP. Let me ask you this. Sounds cool. Sounds like a good idea. I've heard it before. But does the world have 12 to 15 European All-Stars? Legitimate All-Stars? Are we at that stage yet?
Well, they get Canada too.
Still, are we at that stage?
Well, I know I've got the
Giannis, Joker. You can't consider Embiid on the world team anymore. He's playing for the U.S. national team. So you got the Joker, Giannis, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander,
Wembayama.
Let me see.
Lauri Markkanen.
All right, now you're grasping now. You're grasping now.
Okay. All I know is I like my starting five better than your starting five.
Okay. Well, I think the U.S. has the depth.
Okay.
I think the U.S. has the depth.
Kristaps Porzingis.
You're still grasping there.
Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert.
You throw Rudy in there. But
Josh Giddey. All right, before I let you go, you're running the Warriors. What do you do in the offseason?
I'm checking in with Clay to see what his asking price is to stay.
All right.
If it's a reasonable price, you bring him back. I think that's the fair move. My concern would be that Clay may feel that he can get more on the open market. But with that being said, you got to check with Steph. If Steph wants the team back in place, you got to kind of run with that. But you also have to bring in more younger guys. And I think they did a good job of incorporating Kuminga, and they had the big man. The big man came through at the center spot, gave him just an aerial threat. And then you have Brandon Pajinski, defensive guy, hard-nosed guy. He's a dog. So they did a good job in incorporating some young guys. But I still think ultimately you got to check in with Steph to see what he wants. If he feels like you want to bring those three back, Draymond